things going here with the recording. So again, welcome everyone. This is Dave DeBow, and our presentation tonight is 5 secrets that transform ordinary Canadians into self-made millionaires. And this is with our good friend Stefan Arnio. And Stefan is a very sharp young guy, and I don't like to blow his tires up too much, especially when he's on the line, because his ego gets a little out of control. But I've Stefan, I've known you for quite a few years now. In fact, I think I first met you when you were just recently out of the music business and just starting to get your feet wet in real estate investing. And it's been a lot of fun over the years to watch you develop and watch you become the professional that you are today. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Stefan Arnio yet, Stefan has won all sorts of accolades for what he's done with real estate investing. The fact that he has really turned flipping houses into a business. He focuses primarily in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And at one time, Stefan, I believe you were doing 35, 40% of all the flips in town just yourself. Is that correct? It was some crazy statistic like that.
Yeah, it was one in four, so every fourth one is mine.
There you go, 25%. So very, very impressive. And along the way, you learned some pretty valuable lessons. You made some big mistakes, and that's what we're going to be learning from you tonight is how to avoid some of those mistakes that you've made and transform ourselves into self-made millionaires. So take it away, my friend.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Dave. Thank you for having me on the webinar tonight. And I think we did meet years ago. I think you taught me how to shave and tie a tie. It was a really long time ago.
Well, I would have
But
liked to, but I couldn't reach.
well, well, something like that. I know actually you actually got me turned on to webinars, and I remember I came to you years ago, and I had an accidental coaching business where people were asking me for all sorts of help, and I actually flew up to Kamloops and we spent a day, and you showed me what a webinar was and some of these other things. So, thank you very much for that. And I'm very excited to have all the people on the line tonight to talk about the presentation. Sometimes the title can be a little intimidating, 5 secrets that transform ordinary people into self-made millionaires, and we say Canadians into self-made millionaires. But it's $1 million these days is, first of all, not that much money. And secondly, I think just about anybody can do it if they want to put their mind and their resources towards, a definite chief aim, as Napoleon Hill says. So we're going to get started tonight. I'm very excited to have you guys here. And Dave, we were talking a little bit about back in the day when I was 16 years old, I wanted to be a rock star. And that's really where my real estate story starts. I've had a bit of success in real estate, and it all started when I was 16 years old. I said to my dad, I said, Dad, I want to be a rock star. And of course, my parents, being, average Canadian parents, very smart, conservative people, they said, well, if you want to be a rock star, you need to grow up, go to school, and get a good job, which has nothing to do with being a rock star.
Funny.
But very, very funny now to look at that. My dad said, well, you need to get a degree in economics, and my mom said, well, you need to get a degree in music or something like that if you really want to grow up and be a rock star. So a bit of convoluted advice at the beginning of my journey, but the first thing I want to share with people at home, if you are at home, the best way to do this webinar is to grab a pen and a paper. And, we're going to spend, 40, 45 minutes together. I'm going to share with you guys some secrets that helped me a lot along the way in my real estate journey, and hopefully they work for you too. But I want you to grab that pen and paper so you can take down some notes. And the first thing I want to share with you guys tonight is Follow Your Dreams Canceled. And Follow Your Dreams Canceled is a very famous painting by an artist named Banksy. You can Google the painting and check it out. And it's kind of a funny thing to say because everybody says follow your dreams, but I didn't start to become successful in real estate or in business until I made it about other people. And what's very interesting about it is, my dream was to be a rock star. I always wanted to be a rock star, but at the end of the day, nobody cares if Stefan's a rock star. It doesn't matter. What's more important, it's not what I want, it's what other people want. And Warren Buffett says this. If you're taking notes, it's a great thing. Warren Buffett says, what you like about you is your hobby, and what other people like about you is your business. So with me wanting to be a rock star, obviously I liked that dream. And here I am in a picture here. I think I'm probably 19 or 20 years old. I have these terrible brown jeans. I have this terrible haircut. Sorry to all the people who have this kind of haircut still today, but I had the haircut at the time. And
Hey,
I was
for some
being
of us, Stefan, that's looking pretty damn good.
well, if you have hair at all, Dave, I mean, if you have, my dad has, he's got half a haircut, he's got half his hair. So I'm gonna have half of my hair one day. I'll have the Vladimir Putin haircut one day. But to look at this and say, this is what I wanted, it really had nothing to do with other people. And my rock band, I started out a rock band. It did okay. It didn't really do well. It eventually failed. Eventually I burned out. And I actually smartened up and canceled my dream and made things more about other people. And that's really the start of my journey. Now, I went to school in Manitoba. I went to the University of Manitoba. Of course, my mother said, Stefan, you got to get good grades. You have to grow up. You have to go to school. And this is something I think a lot of people hear, and I think that, young people nowadays can resonate with that. And I think that the older generations have all heard the same story because that advice comes from 1930 during the Great Depression when people needed education to get a good job. People on the farms weren't doing well, so everyone said, go to school, get a degree, get a good job, and that used to work. Now, today in 2016, that brand new education that you have from the university is obsolete. And I went to the music school first. My mother sent me to the music school in Manitoba, and I started getting a jazz degree. And quickly I learned that that wasn't for me. I didn't enjoy playing jazz gigs, so I dropped out of jazz school. And then I went to the computer science school because I spent half my time on my rock band and the other half on video games. And I thought, well, I should make video games. I took that for a little bit and I dropped out. And then I went to the business school and I found out that I wasn't going to be rich going to business school, so I dropped out of that too. And finally, I went to the registrar's office and said, what do I have to do here to get out of here the quickest way without dropping out? And she said, take 2 English classes and you can have an English degree. So I took 2 more English classes and I graduated with an English degree. Now the tough thing is, if you do have an English degree, I'm sure there may be someone on the line tonight who has an English degree. The tough thing about that is there's really only 2 jobs you can do with an English degree. And on the left-hand side of the screen, we can see, you can be a teacher. And, being a teacher is great if that's what you want to do, if you want to spend time teaching people and helping the kids out, that's very cool for you. Unfortunately, I didn't want to do that. And on the right side of the screen, the other thing you do with your English degree is go work at McDonald's and flip burgers with all the other English degrees. So I had 2 options. I could either go work as a teacher, or I could, which would take 2 more years of school and more money, or I could go flip burgers and get a McJob. And the ironic thing is, my mother has an English degree and she went to school and today she's an English teacher and she sent me to school to go get an English degree and become an English teacher. And it's very interesting to look at the things we do in our lives, especially at the start of our lives, because we typically do things that our parents did. My mom was an English teacher. She wanted me to be an English teacher. And there's a story about the woman with the ham and the pot. And there was a mother and a daughter, and they had this country ham they were cooking, and the mother took the ham and cut off both ends of the ham, and then she put it in the pot. And the daughter, Mom, why are you cutting off the 2 ends of the ham? And she said, well, I cut off the 2 ends of the ham because my mother used to cut off the 2 ends of the ham. And then she said, well, I don't know why we do that, but let's call my mother and see why we do that. So they would call the mother's mother and say, Mom, why do we cut the 2 ends of the ham off? And she said, I don't know, let me call my mother. So they finally called Grandma, and Grandma says, well, the ham didn't fit in the pot. I had a small pot, so I cut the 2 ends off the ham and fit it in the pot. And often in our lives, we're cutting the ends off the ham and we don't even know why. And we're going to school and we don't know why. And we're getting jobs and we don't know why. So I was very lost and very confused at this time. Now in Manitoba, what we have, it's so cold in Winnipeg, in Manitoba. It's actually colder than Mars. We have a couple accolades if you're from Winnipeg. We're the murder capital of Canada, which is pretty cool. And we're also colder than Mars in the winter. We're minus 62 we had a couple years ago, and we were actually colder than, another planet, which is pretty cool.
That's impressive.
It's impressive. So what they do in Manitoba to keep the students from dying in the winter is they dig tunnels under the ground at the university. So the students walk under the ground in these underground tunnels. And I'm walking through the tunnels one day, and I see this poster for this purple and yellow book. It says Rich Dad Poor Dad. It says be rich like Rich Dad Poor Dad. And of course, I want to be a rock star. I want to be rich and famous. And I look at this poster, and it's very appealing to me. The name Rich Dad Poor Dad is appealing because I have a poor dad. My dad's a limo driver. And I thought about it, my dad is a limo driver, or he's a limo driver. I have a poor dad. I wonder what it would be like to have a rich dad. So I walked down to the bookstore, and I bought Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I went home, and I sat down on my mother's couch, and I started reading this book, and it changed my mind and my life completely. At the time, my rock band was failing. My one path to be rich and famous wasn't working. And I read this book, and it just changed everything uh, in regards to money in my mind. I used to think that the only way to get rich was to become a rock star, be rich and famous, and travel the world and have lots of girlfriends and money and all these things. But I learned from Rich Dad Poor Dad is that anybody can be rich if they make money in business and if they invest in real estate. So I started to get obsessed about real estate. Now, you might not know me that well today, and Dave might know me a little bit better than some of you, but I have an obsessive personality. So when I heard that I could get rich from real estate, I became obsessed with real estate and started reading every single book and going to every single seminar that I could ever find. And of course, I went to seminar after seminar after seminar. Now, I didn't have very much money when I started. I was working as a guitar teacher making about $10,000 a year, and I had about $1,200 of cash. And I went out to a seminar and met 5 other dudes who were hanging out at the real estate seminar. And I had been to so many seminars at this point. I started out with $5,000 of cash for my seminars, and after a couple months, I was 10 grand in the hole. So I was 10 grand in the hole at this point. I had very little cash. And I went out to a seminar. I met 5 strangers, and me and the 5 strangers, we pooled our money. I scraped together $1,200 somehow, and we pooled our money, and we bought this house that you're seeing on the screen in front of you. And this house is 92 Inkster in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And if you know Inkster in Winnipeg, Manitoba, you'll know that it's not a nice street. And if you tell a nice girl you live on 92 Inkster, she's going to say, no thanks, I don't want to come over. It's not the greatest street, but it's not the worst street in Winnipeg either. So we pooled our money together. We bought this house in Winnipeg. Now, we had a frenzy. We had an idea. This was back in November 2009. We had this idea that me and my seminar friends were going to go out and buy this house and split it 6 ways with our $1,200 each. And we were going to rent the house out for $900 a month and make a $400 cash flow. And we were so excited about this, we went out and we rented the property. We started making our $400 cash flow. And after a couple months, sure enough, Dave, we had 1 check come in, then we had 2 checks come in, and the third rent check, did it come?
Well, it might
Of
have
course.
bounced out again.
It might have bounced. Well, Dave, you must have rentals before. When the third rent check came, it never came. And of course, I called my partners. One of the partners was a property manager. One of the partners was a realtor who helped me buy the deal. One of the partners was a guy who owned rental properties. One of the partners was a contractor. I called my partners. I said, where's the rent check? Now, at the time, I was working for Frito-Lay. I upgraded my job from being a guitar teacher. I upgraded to being a chip stock shelf guy, putting chips on shelves every morning at 4 a.m. And suddenly, I was making a little bit of money at my job, not much, about $40,000 a year putting chips on shelves. And I was the dumb bunny in the group that said, I'm going to hold the mortgage for you guys. So I'm holding the mortgage on this rental property. We're not getting any rent checks all of a sudden, and none of my partners are answering the phone, so things are getting bad. I drive down to the property to take a look to see what's going on, and my property manager partner had rented the house out to a bunch of rock stars. He rented this house out to guys just like me, and they trashed the house. They kicked in the doors. They smashed the windows. There was beer bottles all over the ground. There was cigarette butts burned into the ground, and my favorite part was when we sent a cleaning lady to clean the house out, she said, screw you guys, I'm not touching those bloody syringes. Now, this isn't a crack house. This isn't a crack house part of town, but these rock stars had completely smashed my rental property. And when I called my partners and said, guys, we need more money or we need more work to get this house done, none of them said they wanted to help. So suddenly I'm like the little red hen who's stuck all by himself, who has to do all the work to fix the house up and get it rented again. So I ended up raising some money and I bought out all my partners, and held the property for 5 years. I was the girl who went out for one night of fun, and now I'm stuck with a baby. So I was completely abandoned. I had one night of fun at a seminar, and now here I am with the baby. And when you hold the mortgage on a property, mortgage is French, or it's Latin. It means agreement until death. So that's a big agreement from one night of fun. Now I held that property for 5 years. We bought it for about $115,000. Held it for 5 years, and here it is 5 years later. Um, my one surviving partner and I, we sold it, and we bought it for 115, sold it for 169, and made a little net profit. Now, some of you guys might say, "Wow, that's great. You got some cash flow the whole time. You made some money, obviously. Obviously, you fixed up the house a little bit, which cost a little money, but we made a little bit of a net profit, about $22,000 net, which was nice." And some of us might say, "Wow, that was a nice little deal and good for you for jumping in." But here's the thing to consider. Some of you guys might be from, I think we have lots of people from BC on the call tonight, and you might say, "Oh, Winnipeg, that's not that nice of a place." Well, Winnipeg, between 2004 and 2014, was the #1 hottest market in North America out of Canada, the US, and the UK. We were the #1 highest growth market, and we had 250% growth in the housing index. So I happened to buy a house in a hot market on dumb luck, and I rented it out. I didn't know anything about the part of town. I just happened to luck out, and I made $22,000 just owning this house. Now, what's amazing about it is that because I happened to be in the hottest market, I made money. But if I was in Florida, I'd probably be bankrupt. If I was in Las Vegas, I'd probably be bankrupt. If I was in some of those other markets at the same time, I wouldn't be doing very well. So it's the first lesson I want to share with you guys tonight who are taking notes is the market, the city that you're in is sometimes more important than the actual property or the actual strategy that you're pursuing. And for me, I had made money because I happened to buy in the hottest market, and I wasn't smart. And here's the thing about Canada right now. We have lots of Canadians on the call, and we're talking to Canadians tonight. I'm Canadian. I'm born Canadian. I do deals in Canada. We've been spoiled in the last 10 years and the last 15 years in a lot of Canadian markets. Things have gone up, and we've all made money because the market has just always gone up. Now, unfortunately, in the next 10 years, we don't know if that's going to continue, and things are going to change. So it might be the time to really learn how to do the real estate business properly, because any idiot can make money in an up market, and I was definitely one of those idiots, but not everybody can make money in a sideways or a down market. Now, of course, I wasn't that smart of a guy, Dave, so I went out and did another stupid thing. I did one dumb deal, and after I bought that one dumb deal, I decided I'm a professional real estate investor now, so I ran out and I bought the one thing you never want to buy. And if you're at home taking notes, there's 4 types of properties you never want to buy if you're new to real estate. The first one is burned down buildings. You never want them because they're cheap and they're attractive, but they're buildings that you want to avoid at all costs. So first one is burned down buildings you want to avoid. Second one is raw land. You're not smart enough for raw land at the beginning. The third one is luxury real estate, as in mansions. You want to stay away from that. And the fourth thing you don't want to buy is weird hybrid buildings that are commercial and residential mixed. So here I am being a guy that thinks he's smart, thinks he's making money, and runs out in the market, and I buy a burned down mansion. Probably one of the dumbest things somebody could ever buy.
Yeah,
But it wasn't all
you
dumb,
got 2
Dave.
for 1 there, buddy.
Yeah, I got a burned down mansion, like the stupidest thing. So I got this burned down mansion in downtown Winnipeg, and this was legit a crack house. It was burned, it was charred, it had mattresses, it had needles, it probably had prostitutes at one time in it, and it was in a part of town that was very scary. Now, I got this burned down building for $160,000, which, in Winnipeg, I probably paid too much for this building because I wasn't very smart. But I did the math. I was smart enough to do the math, Dave, and I knew that there were 6 parking stalls in the backyard, and the 6 parking stalls at $100 a piece downtown could cash flow the house at 160 grand. So I knew that there was value there, and I knew that if I just held this burned down building as a burned down building, I could cash flow the parking and just own it like that. So I was kind of smart. I understood parking lots, which is really great. But I bought this building and I said, well, I'm buying it for 160. I'm going to go fix it up and I'm going to turn this burned down rooming house, as a mansion turned into a rooming house, and I'm going to gut it. I'm going to turn it into a fourplex. I'm going to take the stairs out of the building, put them on the outside. I'm going to build it up one more floor, and I'm going to cash flow this luxury fourplex and refinance and pay out some investors. So I'm going to go raise $150,000, plus I'm going to buy this building myself with my Frito-Lay income, and I'll be okay. Now I think in 6 months, 6 months and $150,000 will do it. Of course, this deal did not take 6 months. It ended up taking 18 months. And instead of $150,000, it ended up costing me $250,000 because I didn't know anything about the process. Now, the down part in the story was where my contractor had chopped off the roof of the building. You can see the roof in the picture. He cut the entire roof off, gutted the building, and then it was the middle of July, and it rained every day in my wood building with no roof, and we suddenly had no building permit and no zoning, and I had to sit there and cry every day when this building had no roof and no permits, and I had no budget, and this deal was really going sideways. Now, I held on to that deal. I love this next line. Your dream can become a nightmare. Your dream absolutely can become a nightmare if you have a big vision and a bad team. So you can write that down for wisdom. Your dream can become a nightmare if the leader has a big vision and a bad team. And I had a terrible team. I had a contractor that was in over his head. He didn't know what he was doing. I didn't know what I was doing. The city treated my project as a commercial project and threw me in with the stadiums and the skyscrapers downtown. So suddenly I needed 3 engineers and an architect, and my construction budget was going overboard. It was getting out of control. It was, instead of $150,000, it was $250,000. And I started picking up the shortfalls on credit cards. So before I know it, I'm 50 grand in credit card debt, and my investor is mortgaging her credit cards as well to stay alive. So both of us are maxed out in credit card debt. And suddenly these interest payments are getting so big that my interest payments are bigger than my paycheck at my job.
Ouch.
And this is a moment that you want to think about if you're a real estate investor at home. There's many real estate investors I know who use credit cards for deals. There's many real estate investors who have deals that don't go right. And there's many real estate investors who have jobs and they do some real estate investing on the side. But something to think about is, if your credit card payments are bigger than your job paychecks, you have 2 options. And I put them very plainly on the screen in front of you. On the left, you can go bankrupt. And if we were in a live room right now, I'd ask how many people would want to go bankrupt on their credit cards and their deal right now because they can't pay for it anymore. And if there's 50 people in the room, usually 0 people will put their hands up. Nobody wants to go bankrupt. And then on the right-hand side of the screen is a guy painting the house with his overalls on. And I used to paint houses for College Pro in the summer. I was a College Pro painter. And the other option is quit your job, make your cash flow even worse, and start painting the house yourself and hope that you finish with no guarantee of finishing. And I asked the audience typically, who wants to go out there and quit their job with no guarantee and try to finish off the house themselves that's a big mansion downtown? And most people say, no, that sounds bad. And what's interesting about that is nobody wants to go bankrupt and nobody wants to paint the house. And when people are in a foreclosure situation, they usually freeze, do nothing, and they lose the house. So I looked at my bank account, Dave, and I realized I only have 90 days of cash left. I have no more credit, and in 90 days I'll be bankrupt.
Oof.
Now, thank God I decided to put on my painter overalls, and I ran down to the house and I started painting it as fast as I could. And I started calling in every friend I knew and every favor I could. And I started calling every contractor on Kijiji and every single person. I started driving around with vanities and lumber in my 2009 Chrysler Sebring, my little 4-door sedan. I started putting toilets and vanities. I just started doing everything I could to get this deal done. And the magic of focus is in 90, well, not 90 days, but in 45 days, the house was done. And I'll show you a picture. I'll just scroll back here quickly. Here's the house as a 2-story house. Here's the house as a 3-story apartment building, all finished off.
Looking pretty nice.
Looking pretty nice, and I look very suave in my suit. I look like a guy who knew what he was doing all along. And the
That was
Winnipeg
from
Free
the news.
Press,
That was from the newspaper, wasn't it?
Yeah, Winnipeg Free Press. You can Google it. You know, if you want to Google Stefan Arnio betting big on West Broadway. It was very interesting because the newspaper says this young developer thinks he's so smart and he's rambling and gambling and he's going to turn around this neighborhood. And what's very interesting is at the time I flipped this property, or I fixed it up and I rented it out, every single property on the street within the year was fixed up and turned around as well. And I said in the paper that West Broadway is going to be the next Corridor, which is the hottest part of town. And today, you know, 5, 6 years later, West Broadway, mark my words, is a very hot part of town, and it's got very high property value. So this property is probably worth about $600,000 today,
Nice.
which is pretty cool. And the story does end well. And the reason why I do tell you the story is real estate, here's another piece of wisdom for you, is real estate is a business or a game where one deal or one opportunity can totally change your life. And that's something you really want to take to heart is one deal, it only takes one deal or one opportunity to change your life. And this deal makes so much cash flow that it covers my living expenses, and in 2 deals I was out of the rat race.
Wow.
So I didn't need to work at McDonald's. I didn't need to go and put Doritos on the shelf anymore. I suddenly had my living expenses covered, and at age 23, I was, for lack of a better term, retired. Now, here's the thing that sucks about being retired is you lie around all day, and I just played video games, and I got kind of depressed. So the next thing I decided to do is I said, you know what, I think I'm just going to get a job and take it easy. I'll just take my cash flow. I'll go on some trips. I think I'm just going to take it easy. And I went and applied for a job at MTS, the telephone company, which is Manitoba Telephone Company. I said, I'm just going to answer the phone. I'll make 15 bucks an hour. I'll be retired. I'll do what retired people do. I'll take a low-level job. I'll just hang out, and I'll make money and have a nice life. I walked into the telephone company, I had my best suit on. Now, at this time, I'd worked in a private equity company. I'd developed properties. I was a pretty busy guy. I also had a few other companies on the side, and I said, well, I'm just going to take it easy. So I walked into the Manitoba Telephone Company, and I said, hi, guys, I'd like a job, and they interviewed me. And, of course, I got rejected, and they said, you are unemployable. You're overqualified, and we'll never be able to keep you. Good luck. And I
So
walked
much,
out of the
so much.
telephone
You
company.
got rejected from a low-level job.
I got rejected from a low-level job. I couldn't believe it, Dave, because I thought it was a shoo-in. I thought I'm way overqualified for this job, and I just want to take it easy and not worry about things. The next thing you know, I'm getting worried, and I thought, well, I guess I better start a business. And I decided I got out a napkin, and I figured if I buy one house a month with a joint venture partner, in 60 months I'll have 60 houses, and I'll have a pretty nice big cash flow, and I'm pretty good at raising money. I know how to buy houses. I think I'll do that. So I went out and every month I bought a house and I raised the money to buy the house with a partner and I started cash flowing it. And things went well for about 6 months. For about 6 months I bought one house a month and I had one renter every month and one investor every month and we'd fix it up with contractors a little bit. And it was a good little job. But then when I got to about 6 houses, my life started to end because house number 1 had problems and I had to buy house number 7, and house number 6 the washing machine broke, and house number 3 the tenant smashed something, and house number 2 had other problems, and I started to burn out. And another thing that happened was I thought I was making cash flow on these houses, but I was losing money every month. And suddenly my credit cards that were cleared off were back at 50 grand of credit card debt.
Oof.
And I realized something, Dave. I realized I was addicted to losing money. And being addicted to losing money is kind of a scary thing because a lot of us are addicted to losing money, and when we have a problem, we just pull out our credit card or we pull out our bank account and we just pay for the problem. And I thought I could just pay for the problems and at some point the market would bail me out. And of course, that doesn't work like that. So here I am, I have 50 grand in credit card debt again. I've got a bunch of properties now. I thought they were cash flowing and they weren't. And with my last $500 on my credit card, I'll never forget this. I went to a seminar because I needed help, and I took my last $500 of room on my credit card and I used it as a down payment towards hiring a real estate coach. And thank God I did that because I was in some serious trouble and I don't know what I would have done with no job 50 grand of credit card debt, and properties that aren't properly cash flowing. So I used $500 as a down payment towards a real estate coach, and my coach, thank God, straightened me out. Now, the first thing my coach said to me is he said, well, Stefan, you are an entrepreneur and you live in the jungle now, and welcome to the jungle. And one thing I love about the picture here is, everybody says I want freedom. I don't want to be living in the sanctuary anymore. I'm done with security. I want to go into the forest and be free. And Dave, I'm sure you can see right in front of you, we have the jungle. What can you see in the jungle?
Very pretty little pussycat.
A little pussycat. Yeah, you can see there's predators in the jungle. And here I am trying to survive in the jungle, trying to be an entrepreneur. And of course, the jungle is full of predators. But there's not just predators in the jungle. There's also famine and drought, and there's no water. And you might just kill yourself in your own stupidity in the jungle. And to survive, you need a jungle guide. So my jungle guide, my mentor, he took me by the hand, he straightened me out, and he showed me the real way to do things. Now, if you're taking notes, here's 7 things I was doing wrong as a real estate investor. And a lot of Canadian real estate investors do these things wrong too. And I've done them all wrong, so I'm not pointing any fingers. I'm not here to say that you're wrong. I'm just here to say that these are things that Canadian investors do wrong all the time. And they're things that typically books and seminar people tell us to do, and we go do them, and we don't really think about them, and suddenly we can get into some hot water after a while. So number 1 is I had too much credit card debt. And I almost had 100 grand at one point. I was 100 grand in credit card debt, 50 grand twice, and 100 grand another time. And I was in so much debt I couldn't sleep at night. And we might say, oh, well, come on, Stefan, I know not to just get in credit card debt, but I was using my credit cards to build my business. So I was using them for down payments. I was using them for renovations. I was using them for all sorts of things. And suddenly I got out of control and I had 100 grand of credit card debt. So that's the first problem I had. Second problem I had is I had a whole portfolio of properties that I thought were making money every month. I thought they were cash flowing, but they really weren't. And they really weren't because of the maintenance, the repairs, the strange events that happened, the skip town tenants. I did not factor in all the proper things in the equation. And most properties that are 4 doors and less with more than 50% debt don't cash flow. And it's one of those things, it's a very cruel reality when you actually do the real accounting numbers and realize that small properties don't cash flow at all very well unless they're rent to own. So I had all these straight rentals that weren't cash flowing. The third thing is I had a bad business model that would eventually leave me broke, and I almost went bankrupt 5 times running this bad business model. And what's scary about this bad business model is lots of companies are out there teaching people the bad business model, and rather than making you rich, it's going to make you broke, and you might not even survive to the point of profitability. So a very, very bad business model that I don't do anymore. Number 4, I had the wrong properties in the wrong parts of town with the wrong financing. And I wrote there, ouch. Real estate's a game where if you have the right property in the right part of town with the right financing, you're going to make money for sure. But I had 2 or more of these variables wrong, and a lot of these properties I shouldn't have never bought. Number 5, I had too many high leverage mortgages that would eat me like a bear, and this is something that happens a lot in the market is, Canadians, we love debt. We are more in debt in Canada than ever in history, and because money's so cheap, we think that it's great to have debt. Now the problem is if we have lots of debt and mortgages, if the market starts to turn, people get in trouble. And right now, if you look at Calgary, if you look at Fort McMurray, if you look at Edmonton, there's a lot of foreclosures coming down the pipeline because people have too much leverage and the market is changing a little bit and people are getting kicked right out of the market and losing their homes and losing their lives. So I had too much debt and mortgages that would eat me like a bear if the market would change. Number 6, I had a small pool of fickle investors. Now everybody says, oh, I might have an investor for my deal. I had a small group of teachers and mailmen, and I had a dentist and a principal. I had these small investors that weren't really business people that were backing my deals, but the problem was I couldn't rely on them to actually fund my deals. And the last one is I had no help, no team, no systems, and I was working 18 hours a day, picking up rent, painting properties, doing all this stuff, raising cash, and I pretty much burned out. So I had 7 major problems, and these are common problems that a lot of real estate investors have across Canada and the U.S. I meet people all the time who have these exact same problems that I had. And you might be wondering, well, Stefan, if this mentor turned you around, what did the mentor show you? And I put up this beautiful picture of McDonald's, a beautiful Happy Meal that costs, $4.99 in most cities. And there's a beautiful cheeseburger, a beautiful little basket of fries, and a nice box with a smile. It's the Happy Meal. And what my mentor showed me, he said, look, Stefan, you need to run your real estate business the same way that McDonald's sells cheeseburgers. And what that means is McDonald's has one cheeseburger and they sell that same cheeseburger a billion times. And with your real estate business, with your real estate company, you need to have one cheeseburger and sell that one cheeseburger very, very well. Now at the time I was doing lots of things. I had some flips, I had some rental properties, I had rent-to-owns, I had wholesale deals, I had some multi-units, I had all this stuff and I wasn't focused on anything. I was also trying to buy apartment blocks, which was just a bunch of crazy stuff, shiny penny syndrome. And my mentor said, Stefan, you need to just focus on one thing and you need to follow the system. I have a system. Let me show you the proper way to build your real estate business. Now this is what my mentor showed me. And if you're at home,
I like
yes,
your
there's a
mentor.
naked woman. Yes, my mentor is not Richard Branson, but my mentor showed me this. He did not show me a beautiful naked woman, but he said, look, Stefan, if you want to be in the real estate game, the real estate business, if you want to be a professional investor, the first thing you must learn, the first stage of business is you have to become a killer marketer. And looking at this picture, you can see a guy, his name's Richard Branson. He's a billionaire. He owns 400 companies named Virgin. And I don't know if the girl on his back is a virgin or not, but he owns companies that are called Virgin. And Richard Branson is probably one of the world's best marketers. And one of the things that so many real estate investors miss when we get into the game of real estate is we miss how to become a marketer. And what my mentor said is that he said, Stefan, you have to learn how to get leads. You have to learn how to acquire leads for a certain price. And with those leads, if you just want to sell those leads, you can sell those leads and make money, but you have to learn how to generate leads and be a marketer. That's the very basic, most fundamental thing that you need to learn in real estate. So in real estate, we call someone who gets leads, that's typically called a bird dog. And in most markets across Canada, if you send a lead to somebody and they get a deal, that's probably worth about $500. So if you wanted to start out in real estate and have no money and very little risk, you could become a bird dog at stage one, learn the first secret, which is marketing, do some little marketing, pass leads around, and make $500 per deal. Now, for most of us, that's not really whetting our appetite. $500, if you're in Vancouver, won't even buy you a cup of coffee. So maybe that's not the most exciting thing. But when we add the skills together, the first stage is marketing. When we learn how to be a marketer, then we learn the second skill, which is how to become a negotiator. And the second stage of the business, I Googled Donald Trump. Now, right now, if you Google Donald Trump in the world, on Google, this is the first picture that comes up because he's running for president, and somehow this is what Donald Trump looks like on the internet. So first you learn how to become a marketer. Then your second skill is how do you become a negotiator? And so first we're doing a bird dog business, and we're just moving leads. We're making $500 a deal. Now, if you want to take those same leads and go and negotiate on the house and tie it up under a contract and sell the contract, that's called wholesaling, you add in negotiation, suddenly, instead of $500 a deal, you can make $5,000 a deal. And if you're in Calgary, you can make probably $10,000 on a deal, and if you're in Vancouver, it's probably worth $20,000. So depending on your market, you get exponentially more money for having more skills. But of course, every skill you add is going to bring you more money, which brings me to stage three. So the third stage of building the real estate business is first you're a marketer and you get the leads. Then you take the leads and you negotiate them, which gives you the contracts, which gets you, let's say, $5,000 a deal. And then the third stage is you must make great products. You must learn how to buy, fix, and sell real estate. And this is where I have a guy named Steve Jobs on the screen with the iMac from 1997. And Steve Jobs changed the world when he came out with the iMac and the iPod and the iPad. And the third stage of becoming a self-made millionaire is learning how to make great products. So first we learn how to market, then we learn how to negotiate, then the third thing is we learn how to buy, fix, sell, which is adding two more skills. One is production and construction, and the other one is finance. So when we get to the third stage, rather than making $5,000 a deal, we can make probably $15,000 on the same deal. And if we're out in Calgary or if we're out in Vancouver, we're probably making more like 30, 40, 50 grand a deal, because now we're actually doing the deal. We're buying it, we're fixing it, and we're selling it. Now, after we get the third stage done in our business, we've got 3 stages done, then we build it to the 4th stage, which is cash flowing assets. And I started out at stage 4 in real estate. I went right to rental properties. I went right to stage 4, and I got myself into lots of problems. And if you look at this, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. I started out at stage 4. I skipped stage 1. I skipped stage 2. I skipped stage 3. I got into trouble. And if you go right into stage 4 in real estate investing, you're going to have problems. Because if you want to do rental properties, if you want to have cash flow, you need some business to support that other business. And if you look at the screen here, you see a gentleman. His name is Carlos Slim, and he owns the telephones in Mexico. And every time somebody pays their telephone bill, Carlos Slim gets paid. And the great thing about a telephone bill is that's the one thing you can never stop paying, because people need to be able to call you. So, Carlos Slim has cash flow for life because he built a cash flow business. Now, once you get good at marketing, once you get good at negotiating, once you get good at producing properties, then you can get into cash flow assets, and that's where you have cash flow properties. But that's the 4th stage in a 5-stage process. And if we're an investor and if we jump right in stage 4, we're going to have cash flow problems down the road. Now, once we get good at stage 4, we got cash flowing assets. By the way, if you made $500 in stage 1, if you made $5,000 in stage 2, if you made $15,000 in stage 3, when you get to stage 4, now you're making about 100 grand per house over time. This is where you're making big money, plus you get cash flow. And number 5, when we get to stage 5, this is Warren Buffett. He is the richest investor in the world. And we get to stage 5, which is raising capital. And today in my real estate investing career, I'm a stage 5 investor. I'm at stage 5. I'm all about raising capital. I do deals with capital. I do lending with capital. I do joint ventures with capital. And I don't really do any of the jobs in real estate anymore. I don't do the marketing. I don't do the negotiating. I don't do the buy, fix, sell part. I don't do the cash flow assets, because I just do the capital. All I do is work with money all day long. And if you want to get to the top of the food chain, which is stage 5, that's where people are making multi-6 figures in real estate investing. It's because they know how to raise capital and do deals with other people's money. Now, when I saw this 5-stage process, I felt like Homer Simpson. I gave myself a smack in the forehead. I said, "Oh, I can't believe it. I can't believe I've been doing this wrong." I jumped in at stage 4. Then I tried to do stage 3. I left out stage 1. I left out stage 2. I didn't have the skills. I didn't have the systems. I thought I was Donald Trump. I thought I was a smart guy. I was, doing my burn down buildings, and I really didn't learn how to build the business properly. But after learning to build the business properly, who is Stefan Arnio today? I showed you guys some stories about how stupid I was. Today, I'm an award-winning real estate investor, and I recently won an award, Rich Dad International Hall of Fame, which is really cool for me because I've gone full circle. I started out reading Rich Dad Poor Dad years ago when I was 22. Today I'm 29, and I am now a Rich Dad International Hall of Fame winner, and they only give out 1 award per year in Canada to a person who has, obviously achieved enough real estate to be able to win that award, which is pretty cool. I'm also an award-winning entrepreneur, published author of 2 books, Money, People, Deal, and Self-Made. And because I've done all these things, I've been in magazines, I've won awards, I've done lots of deals. I am now a real estate mentor and coach by accident because people called me and said, "Stefan, will you help me?" At first I said, "No, I don't want to help you, I'm just doing deals." Then the calls kept coming. And then I said, "Okay, I'll help you for free," but nobody ended up doing their homework or their work. And then finally the calls kept coming, and I said, "Okay, well, I'll help you and I'll mentor you, but I'm going to charge you a lot of money." And they said, "Okay." And then the people actually did their homework, and we created success, which is kind of cool. The last thing is, at the peak of my flipping business, was controlling 25% of my niche, which is 1 in 4 houses. So if you go to Winnipeg, and if you're looking at flipped properties, every 4th one is mine. And what's crazy about that is I was doing so many deals that every 4th property was mine, and I could use my own deals as comparables to drive up the prices of my own deals, which is pretty cool and something that I think very few investors can enjoy doing that. Now, why do I tell you all this? You might be sitting at home and thinking, well, Stefan, good for you. You've done all these things. What does it matter to me? And it doesn't buy me a cup of coffee. Now, I do want to tell you all these things. I want to show you how dumb I was and then how I straightened out, because I want you to know that you can do this too. And absolutely anybody at home can, if they put their mind to it and put in some time, some effort, some blood, sweat, and tears, they can have success at real estate too. And if you look at the little kitten, the kitten's looking at the lion and saying, how do I get that? I assure you, every single person on this call today can succeed in real estate if they decide and make the decision and stick to it. And I love this picture here. It says, where there's a will, there's a way. And you see the guy at the top is helping the next guy up. And the next guy is helping the next guy. And the next guy is helping the next guy. And that's truly how real estate works. If you want to be good at real estate or entrepreneurship, you need to find a mentor and have someone who has been there before you. Almost like in the old days we had blacksmiths. And if you wanted to be a blacksmith, you worked with the blacksmith and you were the blacksmith's apprentice. And the apprentice would work, and suddenly you would one day become a full-fledged blacksmith because you had a mentor who was a blacksmith. And the question is, if you're at home, are you ready to climb the mountain? Do you want real estate to be your tool for freedom, your vehicle that's going to get you out of your 9 to 5? Do you want it to be a full-time thing that's going to make you lots of money and climb the big mountain, or do you want to just climb the little mountain and maybe you want to make your first $5,000 in real estate, or maybe you want to make your first $10,000, or maybe you just want to pay off a credit card? The question is, how big or small do you want to go? And I assure you, no matter if you want to go big or small, you're right. And you can do real estate however you want. You can do it big or you can do it small. The question is just, are you ready for that? And of course, we are in a webinar tonight, and I do want to offer you guys something at the end of the webinar. I call it the deal of the century, and I kind of jokingly call it the deal of the century because the deal of the century comes every day. And if you're taking notes, you can write that down. Every day the deal of the century is happening. And I want to thank you guys for being on the webinar tonight. And because I'm thanking you, I want to extend a very special offer out to Dave and some of his people, because sitting through a webinar in the evening in your house sometimes isn't the most fun thing. And I want to give you guys the deal of the century to make this worth your while. So here I am at the deal of the century, and we're doing a special event in Vancouver, actually, out on the West Coast, March 12th and 13th. And Dave knows this for sure. My 2-day and 3-day events typically sell for up to even $3,000 for 2 people. And this event is a 2-day event. It's about a $2,590 value, and we're going to be doing that March 12th and 13th. Now, I'm going to come back to this event in a second. I just wanted to get those dates. So if you're writing things down, March 12th and 13th, we're going to be doing a live event where I'm going to be teaching some of this business model in Vancouver coming up March 12th and 13th. So that's not this weekend, but it's the following weekend. Now, today only, for the people who are on the webinar, this is a special webinar offer. We're going to give you a copy of my brand new book, Self-Made. So this is my brand new book, just came out in September. Dave, you're going to be amazed. We're almost sold out of this book. I ordered 2,000 copies. I have a warehouse, my own warehouse now, with pallets of this book, and we're down to the last couple, which is pretty cool.
Very good.
So we have the brand new hardcover book. We typically sell it online for about $40, and believe it or not, signed by the author. People pay an extra $10 to have it signed by the author. Don't ask me why, but people pay that. We're also going to give you some free bonuses for being here and on the webinar for the deal of the century. So bonus number 1, because you're here, is going to be how to attract big investors and big money. I'm going to give you a 1-hour training video that I shot a while ago of how to get million-dollar investors behind your ideas. It's the 1-hour training I've done, and we typically sell this for $97. You get that today included with your order. The second bonus I'm going to give you is how to create multiple streams of income. Learn how the rich get richer using multiple streams of income. The average millionaire has 7 streams of income. I have 13 streams of income. That's a $97 value, and you're getting that again today with your order. Absolutely free, which is pretty cool. You just have to go to Dave's website here, CanadianProfitsEvent.com, and the offer is all going to be there ready for you. The third thing you're going to get today with the deal of the century is how to make massive profits in real estate and learn how to time the market with the lowest risk and the highest return. This is very important. You have to know the right time to buy in the market and the right time to sell. And I'm going to show you how to analyze the market and go through the real estate cycle a little bit. Again, that's a $97 value. You guys are getting that absolutely free at CanadianProfitsEvent.com. Now, I'm also going to give you a personal test. Now, Dave doesn't like the word test. Dave wants it to be an assessment. Whether it's a personal assessment or a personal test, it's all good. It's all good in the hood. We say that in Winnipeg because we do have the hood. It's all good in the hood. And it's a bonus REI aptitude assessment. That's just for Dave. I made it an assessment.
Thanks,
And
buddy.
what that assessment does is it takes you through some questions and it helps you understand your financial situation and what your next strategy needs to be in real estate. Should you be doing rent to own? Should you be doing flips? Should you be doing wholesaling? Should you be doing buy and hold? This test will tell you about 5 or 6 questions. It'll tell you pretty quickly what you need to do next, which I think is really cool. About a $47 value, that's included today. So today's offer, you get the book, signed by the author, 3 bonus videos, 1 educational assessment for Dave, $390 of value. And I got to say this, I am practicing for an infomercial, but wait, there's more. And I met
That's
Kevin Harrington.
that's pretty
Sorry,
good.
Dave?
That's pretty good. You did that pretty well.
But wait, there's more. Kevin Harrington, the man who invented "But wait, there's more." I met him in California, and I got to see him say it. So, but wait, there's more. For those of you guys who decide to take action today and take the offer, we're throwing in 2 tickets to the 2-day self-made live event. Now, this is where things get really great and really interesting. I'm really happy to bring this to you and offer this to you today. So, valued at $1,295 each, you're getting about $2,590 worth of additional value on this offer and free with your order today. And what I love about this, guys, if you're sitting at home and you're going, oh my God, this guy's selling me something, open up and embrace it, because if you have a reservation about looking at an offer, it also means you have a reservation about asking for money. And the only way you're going to be great at real estate is getting past that feeling of asking for money. So what I'm trying to do today is give you guys so much value that this is an absolute amazing thing. And the way that I became successful in real estate and all my other businesses is to give tremendous value. So if you're taking notes, you can write that down. Give tremendous value, and you will receive tremendous value in return. So you're getting 2 free tickets to the event for free with your order today, and 13 things you're going to learn at the event. We're running out of time. First thing is we're going to learn how to build your business with 0 cash, 0 credit. We're going to learn how to sell leads and turn trash into cash. We're going to teach you how to dominate your local market just like I did. We're going to teach you how to generate $5,000 to $20,000 wholesaling properties. We're going to learn how to do cash flowing properties right. We're going to learn how to find the right neighborhoods to invest in. We're going to learn how to raise your first $10,000 or your first $1 million, whichever you choose. It's actually easier to raise the million. We're going to learn how to get money partners lining up, begging to do deals with you. I'm going to teach you all about real estate joint ventures and tricks that only 2% of real estate investors know about raising money. I'm going to show you guys how to get paid 4 times every time you buy a property. That's something I really love called vertical integration. And I'm going to show you guys how to find property predictably at 15 to 60 cents on the dollar. Now, typically I'm buying at 60. Some of my students have bought at 15 cents, which I think is crazy. Number 12, I'm going to teach you how to identify winning properties and avoid money-sucking losers. And the last thing is I'm going to let you steal my exact business model that I use to generate massive cash and long-term wealth. And all that's at CanadianProfitsEvent.com. So go ahead and check that out. So you get all this if you decide to buy today. And the on-site special, I'll recap it right now. So you get the book, $40. You get it signed by the author, 3 bonus trainings, 1 test, 2 tickets to a live event, total value just under $3,000. You get that for about $50, which is absolutely unbelievable. And the reason why we're doing this is I have not been to Vancouver yet, and I need to get some Vancouver success stories out on the West Coast. So we're making this offer absolutely unbelievable, all for the price of the book with the signature. You're getting this event because we have to go to Vancouver and create some Vancouver success stories, and I'm throwing in a guarantee. The guarantee is if you don't love this book and if you don't love this offer when you get it, you can give it to somebody else and I'll give you your money back. You're either going to love it or you're going to give it to somebody else who loves it, and somebody will love this offer. It might not be you, but you're either going to have your money or you're going to love the offer. Now, some of my students across the country have successfully taken my program. We've got Flanny Ba. She's out in Regina. Flanny is an immigrant from Liberia. She's a young woman. She's about 23 years old, I think. She was working at Target when Target was still open. Target was closing down, and she needed to do something. So Flanny went out and bought and fixed and sold her first house with none of her own money, took my program, got her first deal done. So that was really cool for Flanny. One of my best students, Sean McCapp, I had lunch with him today actually. He did 11 deals in his first year with me. In his second year, he did 20 deals, which is absolutely phenomenal. Dan Duveau, one of my students out in Sarnia, he did 4 deals in his first year with me taking my program. Jason Greschuk, one of my great students as well, he did 4 deals in his first year with me after taking my program. And the first 9 people who decide to take action today are also going to get this report, How to Make $1 Million in 4 Years. Canadian Real Estate Wealth Magazine asked me, because I'm an award-winning investor, how to turn 100 grand into $1 million in 10 years. I did my model that I teach my students, and you can become a millionaire in 4 years if you decide to follow the directions. One more thing, we're also going to throw in the audio book for people that don't want to read the book. I actually don't like to read, so we're going to give you the audio book to listen to if you want to listen to it in the car or wherever you listen to your audiobooks. So deal of the century. Dave, I honestly don't think we can make it any better for these people. If you don't get this offer, you just simply aren't interested. So 2 tickets to the live event, self-made, signed by the author, 3 bonus trainings, 1 educational test, total value just under $3,000. The Love It Guarantee webinar offer today, only $50. And if you do want to get it, it's at CanadianProfitsEvent.com. The event is coming up not this weekend, but next weekend, live in Vancouver, and this is a very limited offer. We're only doing the event once, so if you want to do it, this is the time to take action.
No, that makes a lot of sense, my friend, and one heck of a great deal. We did one of these events a couple of weeks ago in Calgary, and the feedback was fantastic from that. So I know that people are very happy about it, and I'm going to be going to your Vancouver event myself because I want to see what you guys are up to, and how you hold your events, and learn a few things because uh, you never stop learning, and you've learned a heck of a lot from your training and your mentors in the past. So always learn from you whenever I see you there, Stefan.
Well, thank you, David. And that's a bonus we have to put on the list. Well, Dave Dubois will be live at this event, which is super cool. And another thing that was very cool at the Calgary event we did a couple weeks ago is I got a call yesterday from one of my mentors that mentored me when I was starting out. Her name was Shelly Hagan. And Shelly, she's a Rich Dad trainer. She called me and she congratulated me on the feedback she'd heard from her students that came to the Calgary event, some Rich Dad students. And she actually bought a copy of Self-Made, and she bought a copy of one of the movies I was just featured in. And it was really a heartwarming moment for me because I really respect Shelly. I love Shelly. And the fact that she called me up to buy one of my books, and she heard great things from some of her students who'd taken lots of trainings, was a real compliment to what we do. And we try to put on the best event possible, and always add more value than we take from people. So that's definitely an awesome moment. It's going to be awesome to have Dave there. It's awesome to have Shelly's endorsement, and can't wait to be on the West Coast because I can tell you it's a lot warmer in BC than it is in Manitoba.
Most definitely. So just for clarity, the digital products are going to be delivered before people arrive at the event or after they arrive at the event. They're going to get the book at the event, obviously, but the other stuff, how do they get that?
Right. So what we're going to do, Dave, for all people who take action today, if you do decide to take action, we're going to get the digital products. We can get those digitally delivered to you before the event. We do want you to read the book a little bit, listen to the audio book maybe. And then the physical stuff, the physical book, the physical report, you're going to get that live when you come to the event. And we want to do that for 2 reasons. Number one, we want to motivate you to come out. We want to give you something tangible. And the second thing is, I hate shipping. I have a very expensive FedEx account. I FedEx these books all over the place. And I would much rather give you the book live, meet you, greet you, sign it, and do it in person than to ship all these books out. So the book is going to be picked up live at the event. All the digital stuff we're going to ship out as soon as we have your order and it gets processed by my office.
All right, very good. So again, that's CanadianProfitsEvent.com. The event is going to be in Vancouver, March 12th and 13th. That is a Saturday and a Sunday. Again, not this weekend, but next. The whole deal of the century, it's $50. That gets you 2 tickets to the event. That gets you the autographed hard copy book. It also gets you the audio book and the digital book as well. It gets you the 3 bonus trainings. It gets you the educational test slash assessment to point you in the right direction of what kind of investing you should be starting with or focusing on. And you get 2 solid days of phenomenal training from a very, very sharp real estate investor who's made a lot of the mistakes that you can avoid by learning how to do it right the first time. I kind of wish I had known you quite a few years ago, Stefan. Would have saved me a hell of a lot of mistakes. However, you kind of learn from those too, don't you?
Well, we help people with those mistakes today. And Dave, I wish I knew you years ago before I was shaving and putting a tie on.
You almost
But
did, my friend. You almost did.
almost, man.
All right. Well, that's great. A fantastic presentation tonight there, buddy. Thank you very much for opening up about some of your screw ups and being just so transparent about it. And, the bigger thing is, sure, you pointed out some of the things that you fell down on, but you really turned it into the lessons that you learned and how we can avoid making the same mistakes. And that's what this event's going to be all about is how to go into real estate investing with your eyes wide open and do it right the first time.
Absolutely, and building that business with none of your own money, because the whole time, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I've never spent more than $1,200 in my whole life of my own money acquiring real estate. Even my own house is bought no money down. So if you want to learn how to build the business with no money, OPM, other people's money, this is the event for you.
Sounds good. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for being on the presentation tonight. And Stefan, good job. Do me a favor, just maybe leave that screen up for a little while there so people can copy down the URL. Also, I included that on the chat thing, you guys, so I sent you a hyperlink to that. You should be able just to click on that and go directly to the website. Highly recommend that you invest in Stefan's event, even just to check it out. I find that the most successful real estate investors are always learning. They're always open to new ideas, no matter how many deals they've got under their belt. They're definitely open to learning from other people who are very active, true professionals in the business. So highly recommend that you do as well. All right, everybody, have a good night, and we will see you hopefully in Vancouver, March 12th and 13th. Take care.